All right, so I am doing this in the dark, keeping it chill. It was members only for the first hour and a half. We're now public because this is an important topic. All right, we just spent the last hour and a half in this members only live going deep on something that I think really every Christian in this country, and also my wonderful, beautiful members, wanted you guys, everyone out there, to listen to. As we got deeper into this, it was evident that this needed to be talked about at scale, or at a bigger scale than just 30 or 40 of us. And I think every Christian in this country really needs to understand a few things. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Some of what we are going to cover and what we have covered made even me in some fashion feel uncomfortable. Some of it might make you angry, and some of it honestly might make you sad, right? Everything that we talk about will be sourced from videos. We'll be doing a lot of video hopping, and I'll be doing the best I can to explain. And I am learning as we go. I do know some history. I do know some of the things that are out here that we're going to talk about, but I'm also learning, taking notes. I'll explain the best I can from what I understand, and also just from the research that I have as well in my archive. But we started really with a simple question: what in the hell is Judeo-Christian? Okay. Where did that phrase come from? Who invented it? And does it actually hold up when you read the text on both sides? And the answer, and this isn't coming from me, the answer is coming from Jewish scholars, Jewish historians, Jewish theologians. And the answer is no, absolutely not. It doesn't hold up. Christianity and Judaism do not coexist. That is not a thing. And that's from the Jewish side, not the Christian side. I have a whole bunch of opinions on why that might be, but we watched a Jewish historian. It was a little boring. I don't know if members, put a 1 in the chat if you want me to go back and play the history of Islam. And it's a 12-minute video. We could put it on. Put a 1. Let me know. Don't do it. Don't put a 1 if you want. Just if I see nothing, I won't. But the history of Judaism and Islam, I have it right here. We could show it. It's kind of boring if you're not into this. If you are, it could be interesting. I'm not sure. If I see a bunch of ones, I'll know to play that one. You know what I'm talking about with the map, and he's explaining the history. If not, if you do want to see it, you're new to the chat or whatever, and you're watching and you want to see the history of Judaism and Islam and really what happened in the very beginning, like in 500 AD, then I will show it and we could talk about it. We're here to, you have to learn about everything, because we're not learning about Islam. We're learning about Judeo-Christianity. But in order to learn that, you have to learn about where Judaism came from. And Islam is a part of that story. So don't be closed-minded. Tiny Love Boston. I have a feeling this is I know who this is. Okay, yeah, it's the context, right? So this was members only. Like, if you pay attention to the top, it says, "We are coming from members only to public on behalf of the chat, wanting to put this to the world." Okay? How about that? How about pay attention? All right, so I'm not being rude. I'm just saying, before you blurt out shit, why don't you pay attention? All right. So the reality is, we've gotten into what the Talmud actually says, and I'm going to show you. Okay, I'm going to show you all kinds of stuff. We watched this guy Sam Aronow talking about, his whole channel is dedicated to Jewish history. Opens his video by himself. I could show you what he says right here. It's so funny because we were covering it.
You know what term I don't like? Judeo-Christian.
I just laughed so hard when I saw that. I was like, wow, that's hilarious. That is exactly what we were talking about. And then we stumbled on this random video. Okay, I hear you, Grandma. We can show the history. I got it queued up. But he said basically that most Jews he knows will tell you that Judaism is actually closer to Islam. So Jews say it that Judaism is closer to Islam than it is to Christianity. Not because of any conspiracy, but because of how the religions are structured. Okay. Judaism and Islam are both legal systems. All right. They're built around a rabbinical and clerical authority, like clerical religion, clerk meaning law, rituals, and like jurisprudence. Okay, like legalities, law itself. That's why they call it Sharia law. Christianity is built around faith and a personal relationship with Christ and God. So if you're a believer, that's what Christianity's, and that's how it operates essentially. These are fundamentally different architectures in general, and a Jewish historian, many have said that, not me. So when we got into what the Talmud says, what it actually says, and I want to be very clear here, is that I'm not talking about the Torah. I'm not talking about the Old Testament that Christians share. I'm talking about the Babylonian Talmud and the Mishna Torah by Maimonides, or whatever. I have a hard time. Maimonides, which we're going to learn a little bit about, which is the codified legal authority that sits in every synagogue. So every single synagogue has the Mishna Torah, okay? And we're going to watch Virillium break down the passage, and maybe, I don't know how deep we'll go on to him, but I want to show how they believe from their Bible or their book, that's their Jewish text, the Mishna Torah. It's in every Bible, or it's in every synagogue. And they're saying that Jesus is being punished in the afterlife with boiling excrement or shit for questioning humans, the rabbis. That's in their book. We pulled it up, looked at another content creator, the standard of the Jewish text database, and even confirmed it with primary sourcing. We've seen all kinds of stuff, and we're going to get into that. So, and then we're going to connect a lot of it with what we see in current day with Jesse on Fire. He's got some interesting content that I think we'd all benefit from watching greatly. So, welcome. There's going to be and Boiling Feces. There's going to be a lot of playing content. There's going to be a lot of hopping around. I am finding stuff as we go. I even went through the Bible today, and I'll share this with y'all. I had a spiritual experience this morning. My daughter, she had been having a friend that's been mean to her. She's 6. She doesn't understand, why is she being mean to me? She was my best friend and this and that. And so I had her open, I opened the Bible. It's Sunday. I went through, and I've never done this with her before. I opened the Bible and I said, hey, I'm going to go like this through the Bible, and I want you to tell me when to stop. And so she said, okay, stop. And then I stopped, and I ended up on Psalms 52, and it happened to be a passage about, and then she pointed, I said, point at a random place. And then after we read it, it was talking about how mean people are, it was about people being mean. And I thought it was very interesting, God experience, because I prayed this morning and said, lead me in a way that whatever you need me to do, that's kind of how I roll. So welcome to those on a chill Sunday session. Church is in session. We are learning about Christianity, Judaism, and Islam by proxy, because I don't at all believe in Judeo-Christianity. I think it's all fraud. I think it's all a political movement. If you think about the Scofield Bible and how they started injecting Zionist principles inside of the Christian text, there's so much. I mean, if we can if we can, I'm going to try to find something on the Scofield Bible as well. Let me look this up real quick so I have something for us. But I have a live stream. I need to find it, and we could. It's just a long live stream where I explain like the history of the Scofield Bible, and it was a great live. I wouldn't mind doing it again. Who was Scofield? The Bible notes that reshaped American Christianity. What is this?
Let's talk about a book.
This might be interesting. Okay, so there's a few things we have here. If we're going to start with the history, but I will say that the Scofield Bible is probably the most important pieces of this entire puzzle, because most Christians have never even heard the backstory of it. And it was this dude named Cyrus Scofield who was born in the 1840s. He was a Civil War veteran, and essentially he was basically a mess. He converted to Christianity. He was a drunk, marital problems, converted to Christianity, and within a few years, he started pastoring churches in Dallas and connected with a guy named Brooks, and then introduced him to dispensationalism. And this is the key to this whole thing, is that the belief that between creation and the final judgment, that there were 7 distinct eras of God's dealing with man, and that these eras are some framework for synthesizing the message of the Bible. And that's a very interesting history piece as well. So we're going to get into a lot of things here. Welcome to all of those. Thanks for joining on X and on YouTube. This is something I've been wanting to dive into, because I am learning, and I learn as we do this. So I appreciate you. If I'm wrong about something, I'm totally happy with it. Just let me know, and I'm happy to look it up or whatever. But I'm definitely hip to the Scofield stuff. And yeah, it's kind of crazy. Thank you to Anna for the 5 Danks membership. Say thank you if you got one. Who got them? We got S. Beth, Calamity Joan, Cabby Joe, Ronan of Stag, Holly. You guys, we literally go deep every single week. So if you want to become a member, those gifted memberships are just random. All right. But you can become a member, and every week we go through something important, something that sometimes breaks news. You know what I mean? So we dive deep. So thank you, and join for just 99 cents if you want to be a part of the Dankster Intel apparatus. My new feisty sister, $2. I call dibs on call in live this week. That reminds me, I'm going to make a note. Let me put it on my clock, my calendar. So I have my Google Calendar. Hold on one second. Calendar. There we go. And then I'll put it so I don't forget. All right. So today in the afternoon, I'm going to put connect, dial in, calling for lives Saturday. So just so you know, on Saturdays, we have the call-in show. So we do a live with Bays, Kelly, and me. Saturdays, last night, 7 p.m. PST, 10 p.m. EST, and we go for 2, 3, 4 hours. And we're going to be doing call-ins every single week. We started this 2 weeks ago, and I really like it, but it's been kind of messy. So I need to create a system that people can call in, can wait, we put on hold, we can hang up. The video stuff is too complicated for people. So I will create something, and then I'll put it in the YouTube post so you'll know where that's at. I'll build a website, whatever I got to do, I'll do it. It won't be that hard. Thank you for the super chat. So we're going to dive into the history of Judaism and Islam first to lay the groundwork. And then from there, I'm going to show you, this might be boring. Look, if it's boring or whatever, just suffer through like 5 minutes of it, because this lays the groundwork. I mean, I could play it at 2x and try to get through the whole thing in a shorter amount of time. So,
You know what term I don't like? Judeo-Christian. Leaving aside the fact that I've only ever heard it used by Christians to describe Christianity without risking overt offense to Jews, particularly in America, it strongly suggests that Judaism and Christianity have more in common with each other than they actually do, and implicitly that they have more in common with each other than either religion does with Islam. Now, this is going to sound subjective, but in my experience, most Jews I know, when given the choice, will agree that Judaism is more similar to Islam. In 2016, a professor at Wheaton College, a Christian university in Illinois, was fired for saying that Christians and Muslims worship the same God, on the grounds that Muslims don't believe in the Holy Trinity. But Jews don't believe in the Holy Trinity either, and I often wonder if she would have gotten fired for saying we believe in the same God. On that note, Judaism and Islam don't really have the Christian concept of faith in the sense of a willingness to believe. Emunah in Hebrew and both iman and itikad in Arabic are sometimes translated as faith, but they actually just mean belief. The idea of having a personal relationship with God that is influenced by worldly affairs is simply foreign. And frankly, if Jews lost the will to believe because bad things happen, this video series would have ended a long time ago. In the rare occasion that Jews or Muslims use the word faith when speaking English, it's more akin to loyalty to God. Hence in the Shahada, there is no God but God. And Judaism and Islam both command followers to express this loyalty mainly through ritual obligations. Islamic ritual is much simpler than Jewish ritual, but you can still see a lot of Jewish tradition reflected in the 5 pillars of Islam. And like Judaism, Islam comes in a variety of flavors based on legal principles of jurisprudence.
And the reason why this is important is because we started looking at what happened that they needed to create a land called Israel to put all the Jews. In my mind, when I think about that, I feel like they're trying to get them out of the Jewish people. They're scattered around over 100 countries. And I was like, why do they have this one location that was, and then we looked and we found the, actually, let me look. It was the, what was it? It was the, damn it. Let me look in my history. Hold on one second. It was on Wikipedia. Here we go. The Balfour Declaration. And it was basically explaining the British government in 1917, ultimately after First World War, created the Balfour Declaration that basically stated that the Jews had a place that they needed to go, which was Israel. So a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine, which was on the map then as Palestine, the region of Palestine, also known as historic land of Palestine. So this declaration was made from Britain, and this was their memorandum to basically get their Zionist agenda in motion by creating this ability to give the Jewish land of it, naming it Israel, which also confuses people because in the Bible, Israelites are anyone that believes in Yahweh or like God, right? The one true God, Yahweh, Christ, all of this, God before Christ in the Old Testament, the Old Covenant. So when we look at this, we started saying, well, like, why did they have to put them in this place? Was there issues, right? Because I don't want to jump to conclusions or say this or that, but it started to bother me and say, well, why do they need to be placed somewhere? Why can't they just live in one place or in 100 places? So then that led me to, well, there must be some issues. And we haven't gotten there yet. And this is where I started looking into the foundation. And this might be a longer stream. We'll see how long I can go without eating. But this is the foundation of basically Judaism and Islam. And that's why we're talking about Islam, is because of this basic foundation of old versus new and the history of Islam and all that. So
instead of a central authority. In both religions, those who claim to be the central authority are decidedly self-appointed and tend to have minimal recognition, except maybe within their own country. But why should that be? Islam didn't grow out of Judaism the way Christianity did. Muhammad wasn't Jewish. So how did this happen? The first wave of Jewish settlement in Arabia came by way of trade caravans between Judea and what is now Yemen. During the Hasmonean period, one Jewish community even crossed the Gulf of Aden and settled permanently in Ethiopia, taking Amhara wives and founding the Beta Yisrael. And others had cut out the middleman of the Indian Ocean spice trade by settling in India. During the period of Roman and Persian hegemony over West Asia, Jewish merchants from Mesopotamia began settling permanently in the Arabian Peninsula.
And Persia is Iran. Look, this is the Strait of Hormuz. This has been around, like the Persian Empire has been there since Babylon, since Jesus and before. And it's foolish to think that we're just going to go in there and take over. That is insane. You know how many? I think Alexander the Great, there was a couple big travesties that happened because they tried to do this. Now we're in here doing it. It's not going to be good. I'm telling you this.
Even adopting a tribal lifestyle and becoming the dominant population in certain cities and small kingdoms, like Himyar, a state which was ruled by Jewish converts throughout the 5th century.
Why does this sound like Ben Shapiro on 1.5x?
until it was conquered and extinguished by Aksum with support from Emperor Justinian. Other converts to Judaism included the Kinda, but the most powerful Jewish tribe on the peninsula by the 6th century were the descendants of those original traders, an offshoot of the priesthood called the Banu Qurayza, which controlled the city of Yathrib, better known today as Medina. We'll come back to them in a second. In the north of the peninsula, the dominant religion was Christian.
Hey, my wife likes the way I do my hair. I cut it and then I like it short because I cut my own hair. And the reason why I keep it short like this is because it's just easier.
Christianity, the most notable Christian tribes being the Roman allied Assanids and the Persian allied Lakhmids. That may sound strange considering that Christianity is almost non-existent in Arabia today, but in what will be a running theme throughout our discussion of the Middle Ages, the religion of a state often really meant the professed faith of its ruler, not the general public. And at the birth of Islam, religion in Arabia was as diverse and varied as it had once been in Rome. It also wasn't the same kind of Christianity as that preferred by the Roman Empire. The Assanids were Syriacs, which were Monophysites, and the Lakhmids were members of the Nestorian Church of the East. They were both Trinitarian, mind you, but their theological foundations put a lot more emphasis on Christ's humanity, which may have influenced Muhammad's conception of Jesus as, while not being an aspect of God himself, still a prophet and a Messiah. But why hear about Muhammad from me when you could hear it from YouTube's preeminent Muslim historian and a friend of the channel, Al-Muqaddimah?
Prophet Muhammad received revelation from the God of Abraham around 610 in Mecca, in modern-day Saudi Arabia. He began preaching the religion of Islam, which thinks of itself as a continuation of Christianity and Judaism. In fact, for the first 14 years, Muslims prayed facing Jerusalem. According to Islamic tradition, Muhammad was flown by God to Jerusalem, from where he ascended to the heavens and met God. Well, not exactly met God, but you know. However, Muhammad's teachings weren't popular and he was expelled from Mecca. He established a small state in the city of Medina to the north. Medina itself had quite a number of Jewish tribes living there, with whom Muhammad had a good relationship at first. He even told Muslims to fast on Yom Kippur. However, as he became more and more established as the head of Medina, he came into conflict with the local Jews, the most famous of which was against the Banu Qurayza. Keep it in mind that his conflict was with the Jewish tribes and not Judaism as a whole. The decision to execute all grown men of Banu Qurayza, which, while endorsed by Muhammad, was not actually his decision. It was made by a companion of his who had previously been an ally of the Banu Qurayza and a scholar of Jewish scripture. Then, in another political conflict, Muhammad marched his army towards a Jewish stronghold named Khaybar and conquered it. He also slowly allied with other Arab tribes around him and grew in power until eventually he even conquered Mecca. Muhammad passed away in 632, leaving behind the religion of Islam and a small community that ruled almost all of Arabia.
Thanks. Check out his channel. It's really great.
So the history of Judaism and Islam goes way back, and they had this massive issue back then, and it was politically driven as well as religiously driven. It was both.
You'll like his videos if you like mine.
So Jews are no stranger to politicizing their religion.
Muhammad lived just long enough.
And I'm not even saying, the problem is that Jews really aren't doing it. It's the Israel country, the heads of state, that are taking Jewish text and using it to their advantage to try to do whatever they want to gain more land. When they were already just trying to get one country, now they're trying to take over the whole Middle East.
The end of the final Roman-Persian War. In the course of that conflict, Muslim forces had conquered the entire Arabian Peninsula, including huge amounts of Persian territory. After the war, Persia collapsed into political and military anarchy, but anticipating a joint Roman-Persian invasion of Arabia in retaliation for the loss of their hegemony in the region, Muhammad's successor, Abu Bakr, planned an invasion of Syria and Mesopotamia, though Abu Bakr himself would not live to see any of the actual fighting. By 634, Emperor Heraclius had somehow managed to make the religious tensions in the Roman Empire even worse. At the end of the final Persian War, he began pushing a doctrine called monothelitism, which dictated that Christ had two natures but only one divine will. I'm going to pretend for a moment that I know what that means, but the important part is that it was intended as a compromise between the Orthodox and Eastern churches that just ended up alienating both sides. Heraclius had also ordered the mass conversion of the empire's Jews for siding with the Persians 20 years earlier. Having fully lost the hearts and minds of the entire East, Rome at this point had no option of holding on to the Levant except by military force. And since the Roman army had all but destroyed itself over the previous 3 decades, I'm pretty sure a slight breeze could have captured it. Instead, they had to face off against Khalid ibn al-Walid, possibly the greatest general who ever lived. In 634, Khalid's forces conquered Mesopotamia so unexpectedly fast that the Muslims found themselves entering Syria from the north before the planned invasion from the south. Not that it mattered, as Heraclius himself got pretty well thrashed at the battles of Yarmouk and the Iron Bridge and basically resigned himself to never controlling the Holy Land again. With Palestine firmly under Muslim control, the Caliph Umar restored the Temple Mount, which since the final Roman-Persian War had been used as a garbage dump.
So this is talking about Palestine and the temple and Judaism and Islam and the clash of this, right? So to just keep you up to why we're talking about this.
And fulfill the late Muhammad's dream of building the farthest.
They turned it into a garbage dump, the Temple Mount,
which since the final Roman-Persian War had been used as a garbage dump, and fulfilled the late Muhammad's dream of building the farthest mosque, or in Arabic, Al-Aqsa, on the site of the royal Stoa. For the moment, the foundation stone was left untouched. However, although Arab settlers had been migrating into the region since the Hellenistic period, the Caliphate now deliberately avoided resettling any lands west of the Jordan in order to keep the favor of those already living there, and Muslims remained a small minority in the province for about a generation. On general principle, Umar wanted to avoid conflict as much as possible with other religious groups he considered to worship.
Smash that like button, hit the subscribe, follow, share, anything that you can to help push this video out. This is so off topic for my channel, and it would really help me out if you did just hit the like, make a, share it with somebody, put it in a Discord chat, share it on X, anything you can to get some extra boost for the algorithm. I'd really appreciate it, seriously.
The same God as Muslims, be they Christians, Jews, Samaritans, or even Zoroastrians.
And not to mention, this is important information that Christians and Americans need to understand, and who our leaders are fighting alongside with, because we're going to go deep in this show today.
Would simply be required to pay an additional tax called jizya and refrain from proselytizing, which Jews and Samaritans didn't do anyway. And while there was never a formal pact with these groups, as later rulers and theologians would claim, Umar's policy of toleration set an important precedent called the Dima that would clear the path for even greater territorial expansion. However, Umar's prohibition against settling these newly acquired lands started to get cumbersome during the reign of his successor Uthman. Arabia's population was rapidly growing beyond what the desert environment could support. What's more, by the 650s, the conquests of Mesopotamia and Persia had resulted in a sizable population of subjects who were Muslims but not Arabs. And although the caliphate officially considered all Muslims equal, not only were non-Arabs effectively excluded from power, but Uthman engaged in overwhelming favoritism toward his specific tribe, the Banu Umayyah. A civil war broke out over this, but the Banu Umayyah won, meaning that administration remained strictly Arab, and the needs of administration in the 8th century required the settlement of Arab bureaucrats in Palestine, particularly around the newly built provincial capital, Ramla. This period, which has come to be known as the Islamization of Palestine, culminated in 691 with the construction of the Dome of the Rock on the site of the Jewish temple. Why the Dome of the Rock was built is actually kind of a mystery. Yes, the foundation stone was the legendary site of Muhammad's night journey in the Quran, but that had already been sorted out with the Al-Aqsa Mosque. The best guess by historians today is that it was a power move. At the time, Mecca and Medina were under the control of a pretender to the caliphate named Abd Allah ibn al-Zubayr. Abd al-Malik probably wanted to show that he still had what it took to venerate God, and incidentally organized the necessary resources to build a big monument. And if that's what he was trying to do, it worked, because Zubayr and his movement were defeated the next year. You may also be interested to know that the shrine was originally white marble, and that the dome was made out of wood, later replaced with blackened lead. It wasn't gold-plated until the 20th century.
This is a big part of the Judaism and Islamic clash, is this Temple Mount. It is, to this day, a big part.
The rise of what we now call the Umayyad Caliphate ultimately created a lot of disharmony within the Muslim world, eventually leading to the schism between Sunni and Shia Islam. But if you were Jewish, life was markedly better under the Caliphate than it had been under Rome. It was no third temple, but it was a lot better than not existing. And it was the first time in centuries that Jews could not only access Jerusalem without restrictions, but actually live there. Because of this political union, this era of Judaism is known as Musta'arabi Judaism, or the Arabic Rite. As the vast majority of Jews now lived in the Caliphate, a new generation of prominent rabbis, known as the Gaonim, essentially did the same job as the Sanhedrin centuries earlier, using their knowledge of the Talmud to address questions from all over the Jewish world concerning the correct way to worship and keep the tradition. This would ultimately be the last hurrah for the Umayyad conquests. Although the Caliphate eventually did conquer the remainder of North Africa, enabling the establishment of yet another hugely important Jewish school at Kairouan, the native Berbers and Romans objected to the Umayyads' long-standing hypocrisy in supposedly offering equality to all Muslims while actually restricting power to fellow Arabs. Between 740 and 749, the North African provinces revolted, and it stuck. For the first time, there were Muslims living outside the Caliphate, and they quickly embraced a syncretic version of Islam that incorporated existing imagery from the local Berber religion and even some vestiges of Carthaginian paganism. This Carthaginian influence managed to find its way into the academy at Kairouan, giving us one of the rare symbols shared by both Judaism and Islam, the Khamsa. In Islam, the hand of Fatima, as it's called, is a traditional image meant to ward off the evil eye. In Judaism, the Khamsa fit very well with existing biblical imagery revolving around God's protection, and became ubiquitous as a symbol to ward off evil. Today, it's arguably the symbol of religious Judaism, with the Star of David taking on a more secular cultural role.
I didn't know
Soon,
that.
Other non-Arab Muslims in the Caliphate
I just knew. I look at it as the all-seeing eye, and then I have it in my, here, I can show you a bigger screen. So the Fibonacci sequence basically is, how do I do this? This is Fibonacci, right? And then if you, this is the, basically the portal to other worlds. I was like falling deep into what I didn't know at the time. I was falling deep into the pagan, I guess, maybe, or like alien stuff. And I was really getting deep. Like I have a alien here, and like, not that I don't believe in aliens, but I just don't believe them like I used to. I was right here. Someone being brought up to an alien spaceship. But anyways, we're gonna move on to the next clip here. But what basically I wanted to set the foundation. We're gonna be setting multiple foundations for this video, for this live stream. So that was a little bit of the background of the land, the basic foundation of what Palestine, the Temple Mount, Judaism, Islam, and Judaism and Christianity are just structurally different. the reason why people might say that Islam and Jewish are similar is because of the law. Judaism is built on law, rabbinical authority, legal debates. That is their Judaic type of Bible, if you will, the Torah and all of this, what we're going to talk about, the Talmud, the Mishnah specifically. And the religion that actually mirrors the structure of Judaism is Islam, not ours, if you're a Christian or a believer. Their own historians have said this, and most Jews would agree, okay? The word they use for faith doesn't even mean faith, like I said before. In our entire experience of walking with Christ or walking with God, talking to God, praying to God, having that personal, intimate relationship with Christ, he, Sam, and then other religious scholars of Judaism, they would call that foreign, like faith, it would be called foreign. Like it would be foreign to them, essentially. So a Jewish historian even said that about his own religion, the relationship is foreign to God as Christians. So Jewish tribes, basically what that video I just showed you is that Jewish tribes running cities in Arabia. And Muhammad, which is the Islam prophet, was telling early Muslims to fast on Yom Kippur. Muslims originally were praying towards Jerusalem, and after the conquest of the Caliph Umar, which he showed, restoring the Temple Mount that the Romans had turned into a garbage dump and letting the Jews live in it, which is crazy, in Jerusalem, that was happening in Jerusalem. So Jerusalem, the Temple Mount, and all of this was a garbage dump made by the Romans, okay? And they had the Jews living there. And again, for the first time in centuries, they had this place there that they were living at. Now, the people we're told are the enemies, are actually the ones who historically opened the door, okay? The people we are told are our allies, their own scholars, the ones that they say are the foundation of Christianity, Judeo-Christian, their own scholars say the connection to us doesn't even exist theologically. It doesn't hold up. Now, that's the structural and historical side of why Judeo-Christianity does not work. But there's another side to this that we're about to show you that goes way deeper, because it's one thing to say that religions are structured differently, okay? It's an entirely different thing to look at what the foundational text of a rabbinical Judaism actually says about Jesus Christ specifically, about our Lord, my Lord, about the person at the center stage of everything that we believe in. And you're going to be blown away if you haven't seen it. And Virgilium is going to break it down. He goes through the actual Talmud, the Babylonian Talmud, which is the legal and theological foundation of rabbinical Judaism. And it's not the Torah, okay? Not the Old Testament that we share. It's the Talmud, the book of rabbinical debates and rulings that was compiled in Babylon and Maimonides or whatever, which they later codified into the Mishna Torah, which is a religious law text, and it sits in every synagogue, right? So what's in there about Jesus is something that I think every Christian needs to hear at least once, so you know what we're dealing with here, okay? Because if we're going to be told that we share a value system with these people, if we're going to be told that Judeo-Christian is a real thing, if $730 million this last year is going to be spent convincing us through churches and our phones and geofencing our children through media feeds and AI manipulation, then we have a right to know what their foundational text says about the very person that our faith is built around. And I want you to pay close attention because it's going to get real. And this is where the Talmud tells you exactly what they believe about Jesus in his afterlife. And then after that, he gets into Maimonides, the most important Jewish legal authority in history. And he himself wrote about Jesus and about us. And I promise you, by the end of this, just this next clip, the phrase Judeo-Christian is going to feel very different coming out of your mouth and going into your ears. I promise you. So let's get into it. Quite frankly, it pisses me off.
To the valley of Gehenna, a real place on earth where the Israelites used to burn their trash and like shit. So he says,
okay, so we talking about, remember we're talking about the trash and the, not that this is exactly the same, but this is a recurring theme in Judaism. All right, let's speed it up.
The Israelites used to burn their trash and like shit. So he says, who's most important in the next world? Like who's honored in heaven? Titus said unto him, the Jewish people. Onkelos asked, should I then attach myself to them here in this world? Meaning, should he become Jewish? Titus said to him, their commandments are numerous and you will not be able to fulfill them. It is best that you do as follows. Go out and battle against them in that world and you will become chief. As it is written, her adversaries have become the chief, which means that anyone who distresses Israel will become the chief, meaning like a great leader in the world. Onkelos said to him, but what is the punishment of that man in the next world? Meaning, how do you get punished if you do that? That which he decreed against himself as he undergoes the following. Every day his ashes are gathered and they judge him and they burn him and they scatter him over the seven seas. So they torture him, they like pick him up, judge him every day. And every day they go, yeah, you're guilty. And then scatter him into ashes again and then send him into the ocean. That's the punishment that Titus received for fighting the Jewish people. Onkelos then went and raised Balaam from the grave through necromancy. Balaam, let me note, is a like demon. If you're a Christian or a Muslim, you believe that Balaam is like a demon. He said unto him,
yes, Balaam is a Jewish god. Okay, Baal, Balaam. And this is one of their gods because they were brought up in polytheism. Okay. This shit's crazy. And we're going to get into Baal.
who is most important in that world where you are now? Balaam said to him, the Jewish people. Onkelos asked him, should I then attach myself to them here in this world? Okay, we know, we get it, okay? Balaam said to him, you shall not seek their peace or their welfare all the days. Onkelos said to him, what is the punishment of that man? Balaam said to him, he is cooked in boiling semen as he caused Israel to engage in licentious behavior with the daughters of Moab. This is again in reference to the story of the Bible, Book of Numbers with Balaam. Now, here's the big one. All of you have been waiting for this. I know this is the one you're thinking of. Onkelos then went and raised Jesus the Nazarene, Jesus Christ. Let me note, he is referred to throughout the Talmud several times as Jesus the Nazarene or Jesus of Nazareth. This is, again, mind you, Christ means Messiah. And obviously Jews don't believe that he's the Messiah, but he gets mentioned as Jesus the Nazarene, which is to say, Jesus, that guy from Nazareth. Jesus said to him, their welfare you shall seek, their misfortune you shall not seek. For anyone who touches them is regarded as if you were touching the apple of his eye. Basically, he's warning Onkelos, saying, I touched them, I messed with them, don't do it. Like, it's really bad. They are the apple of his eye. They are God's favorite. Onkelos said to him, what is the punishment for you? Jesus said to him, he is punished with boiling excrement. As the master said, anyone who mocks the words of the sages, the rabbis, will be sentenced to boiling excrement. And that
How crazy is that? They believe that Jesus is being punished. The Talmudic Jews believe that Jesus is boiling in shit. That's his punishment. That's his hell.
Sin as he mocked the words of the sages. The Gemara then comments, come and see the difference between the sinners of Israel and the prophets of the nations of the world. As Balaam, who was a prophet, wished Israel harm, whereas Jesus...
Balaam, a prophet. Sorry, I said God.
The Nazarene...
Well, he is a God prophet. I'm not sure. I don't...
Jewish sinner sought their well-being. Now, that's important to note because they're saying
this is crazy. Listen to this.
Sinners of Israel...
Let me slow it down a little bit. He's saying that Jesus meant well.
And the prophets of the nations of the world. As Balaam, who was a prophet, wished Israel harm, whereas Jesus the Nazarene, who was a Jewish sinner, sought their well-being. Now, that's important.
Baal was wishing them harm. Jesus wished them well, but because he claimed to be a prophet, they flipped it. Like, that is the most sadistic, crazy, evil shit. Who actually killed Jesus? The Jews killed Jesus.
important to note because they're saying here Balaam actively tried to hurt Israel, the Jewish people in the Bible, and he's punished. Now, they claim that Jesus was seeking the well-being of Jews, but he was wrong. He wasn't the Messiah, and he was wrong, and he made fun of the rabbis, or really, he questioned the rabbis. In trying to do what was right, he questioned the rabbis, which was the worst thing you can do, and that's why he receives the worst punishment of.
They're questioning a person who could be raised to be a rabbi, like a pastor or a priest. It's like they revere themselves as aligned with God, and he's going to explain that.
All. So yes, they do. If you've heard that they believe he's boiling in shit, yes, not only do they believe that specifically because he questioned the rabbis. The questioning that's being referred to here, if you read the New Testament, you know, when Jesus speaks to the Pharisees, he who is without sin shall cast the first stone, all that is what they're referring to. Because he did that, Jews believe he is burning in like a pot, I guess, of boiling shit.
Okay, now think about this. We have rabbis on this earth today, right? And if we're questioning them, and they did that, they killed, hung on a cross Jesus, and then believe he's boiling in shit. What do you think they want to do to us? Cool, thank you. I'll check it out. What do you think that would do? How do you think that would make them feel about us if they did that with Jesus himself? Right? Because when you see, like, I'm going to take a quick shortcut off of this, and I'm going to show you something that I found from Heavy Duty Country, because I think you need to see this. This is what these rabbis are: human beings. They're not prophets or anything like that, but they revere themselves as such. All right. Let me see if this is it. Oh, yeah, here it is.
All right, folks, welcome back. Oh, boy, I've had a crazy...
I think it's... Let me just find the clip. Right here. Okay, so this is a rabbi. Remember, we were talking about rabbis. I'm gonna let me play a little bit more. Let me see where we're at. Yeah. And then I'm gonna show you. You should be concerned.
You may be asking yourself, what the fuck? And that's a proper response to have to such a shocking piece of information. But it has to be noted and remembered. Jesus, again, is not seen as the Messiah. And again, to question the rabbis, i.e. to question those who deemed him not the Messiah, is considered a very, very grave sin. Because like I said before, they believe that the rabbis kind of harness the power of God, that God is behind the rabbis and God uplifts the rabbis. So the rabbis, very, very important. You can't question them. If you question them, you're out. That's the Talmud, man. Like I told you, they believe in like magic, and
you question them, you're out. Like, how wild is that? So now, this is a rabbi talking about Charlie Kirk.
American goy or goya. If they are religious in Christianity, they are more wicked than someone that is secular. It's very interesting.
What the hell?
Someone who follow a man-made book and admire JC and follow the New Testament claiming it's the book of God is actually a bigger criminal than someone that lives like an animal. Doesn't search for God, doesn't care about religion, just try to be a nice person and that's it. Why? Because he has one extra crime that this one doesn't have. They both do not follow the divine laws, the original divine laws, but the secular one did not claim that there is a fake prophet.
Is this who my tax dollars are going to?
Or son of God, or this is a divine book. He never claimed such thing. The Christian claimed this false information. So he actually modified the truth of the holy truth of God. Someone who replaced God with a fake, or his real prophet with a fake prophet, or the real Torah with a fake book, obviously is a bigger criminal than someone who doesn't believe in anything. Either way, both of them are.
Yep. I just want to ask this guy something. In the history of humanity, has there ever been another human to be crucified and then come back to life 3 days later? Ever? Do you have a good answer for that? Or was it just the luck of the draw? Or could that mean something? Can you imagine if people talked like this about the Jewish religion? Imagine if people were saying, oh, you're going to hell and all this other stuff because you don't believe in Jesus Christ. But here we are with this Rabbi Yosef Mizrachi.
So
just
Jesus was killed, but it was because he was claiming to be a prophet, right? So that's a little separate. But because he questioned the rabbis, he was held in such contempt that, I mean, you can't question the rabbis, man, essentially. So what happens if you do? If we're all out here as Christians, and you're going to see more, watch.
Believe in all this kind of like folksy stuff. Another great example of this kind of narrative structure is how they speak about Jesus, and more specifically, his mother. Lord, forgive me for even reading this, okay? Here are some quotes about Mother Mary. His mother was Miriam, that's the Aramaic form of Mother Mary, who braided women's hair. So she worked like a lowly kind of job. This one strayed from her husband, meaning she was infidelitous, that Jesus was born from infidelity. She, who was the descendant of princes and rulers, so from the line of David, as we know from the Bible, she played the harlot with carpenters, basically saying that she was a whore and slept around. They specifically talk about the law surrounding Jesus' crucifixion. On the eve of Passover, they hanged Jesus of Nazareth, hanged referring to crucifixion. And a herald went forth and cried aloud for 40 days beforehand, he is going forth to be stoned because he has practiced sorcery and enticed Israel to apostasy. Anyone who can say anything in his favor, let him come forward and plead on his behalf. But since nothing was brought forward, he was hanged. So let me note, if they ever try to tell you that it was the Romans, like it very explicitly says here that they did it, that he was hung on Passover for questioning the rabbis. And there's so many quote, like, dude, I don't.
How crazy is that? They hung Jesus because he was questioning the rabbis based on their law. Okay. What do you think they would do to us? I'm just asking. I'm going to put a poll in the chat. We need to know all of this. They hung Jesus Christ because he questioned rabbis. Do you think they'd do that to Christians today? Yes or no? In the poll, there's 151 of you. I'd love to see your vote.
I don't want to sit here all day and just read you the Talmud, because that's not the point of the video. The point is to understand like what it is and what these people believe. With all that being said, these are all pieces of law and pieces of narrative. So how do we know what is real and what isn't real? How do we know what is accepted by these people and what isn't? This is where we enter a very important figure called Maimonides. Quick background, Maimonides was a guy who lived in Muslim Spain. Jews during Muslim Spain were very wealthy. They basically became like the arbiters of wealth pretty quickly. He quickly shows off his talents as a rabbi. He can speak several different languages. He's very smart. He probably was autistic. Let's just be honest. Like if you read his writings, like this is a guy who could memorize like huge passages of text. He moves to Egypt and he begins his life's work, a book called the Mishna Torah. That's confusing, right? Because we've talked about the Mishnah. This book is not the Mishnah. It's just called the Mishna Torah, which literally means teachings on the Mishnah. Now, again, it's not the Mishnah. The Mishnah is this really, really old book from 200 AD. Maimonides, he lived in Muslim Spain, so the early 12th century. Now, the Mishna Torah, this is the book that everyone agrees upon. You have to understand, Maimonides is considered the most important Jewish thinker ever. Right now, there are like hospitals named after Maimonides, most famously Maimonides Children's Hospital. And the reason is because he made this book, the Mishna Torah, where he managed to compile everything and give a definitive answer. This is approved, this is Jewish law, and this is not. And everything I've read so far was approved by him. So what exactly did he believe? Maimonides was most famous for his sheer disdain for Christians. It cannot be stressed how much Maimonides fucking hated Christianity and specifically hated Christians. I'll give you some quotes from him. In the Mishna Torah, Law of Kings 11:4, he writes, Jesus of Nazareth, who imagined that he was the Messiah, was executed by the court. He caused Israel to stumble and destroyed many. May his bones be crushed. Every single time that he refers to Jesus in the Mishna Torah, he follows it up by saying, may his bones be crushed. Like every time. This is because Maimonides believed if you said the name Jesus, it had to be used as a curse. You can't use it as a name. This is actually why you don't meet Jews today with the name Yeshua or Yehoshua or really any of the forms of Jesus in Aramaic or Hebrew. It's because the name, according to Maimonides, is a curse. It's like a slur. And so anytime he refers to Jesus, he follows it up by saying, may his bones be crushed, meaning may he be tortured in hell. Another big part of the Mishna Torah is called the Birkat HaMinim. The Birkat HaMinim is one of the blessings in something called the Amidah. Mind you, the Amidah, these are blessings that are recited 3
Okay. So
times a day. 3 times a day. And the Birkat HaMinim is one of them. Birkat meaning blessing, Ha meaning on, and Minim meaning the infidels. Mind you, blessing, it makes it sound like it's, when we think of blessing, like a good thing, blessing just kind of means like a prayer. And so it can be used in the negative. It honestly, it'd make more sense in English to call it the curse of the heretics. Here's what it says in English. For the apostates, let there be no hope, meaning those who left Judaism, and uproot the kingdom of arrogance speedily in our days, referring to Rome, referring to like Christian kingdoms. May the Nazarenes, that's the Talmud word for Christian. Because like I said, they don't call him Christ because they don't believe he's the Messiah. They don't refer to Christians as Christians because that means to follow the Christ. So they call Christians Nazarenes, meaning people who follow the guy from Nazareth. May the Nazarenes and the infidels, Minim, perish as in a moment. Let them be blotted out of the book of life and not be written together with the righteous. You are praised, O Hashem, who subdues the arrogant. Now, let it be known, Maimonides, he didn't write this. This is kind of like synthesized together from writings from before. But not only does he codify it, he says this is like the most fucking important thing you can say. You need to say this 3 times a day. Like this is, he says, if you pray this every day, that's the best thing you can do. Now, you may be saying, wow, that's a lot. Why does this matter? Well, all of this synthesizes down in today what these people believe in modern times to very bluntly dispel the myth of Judeo-Christian. Like I said in the beginning of the video, we commonly hear the idea that Judaism is just diet Christianity, that it's Christianity, the Old Testament, but just, without the New Testament. That's all it is. And that the religion of Judaism is the same as the religion of people like Solomon, of people like Jesus. But no, this is the basis of the religion. Every single synagogue has a copy of Mishna Torah because it's the codified, simplest version of what is accepted in the law and what isn't. All of this is to say that the religion is not derived from the Old Testament in the way that we derive faith in the Old Testament. We see the Old Testament as the story of this wise people who were guided by God, and all of it leads up to the birth of Christ, who then redeems humanity. That's not how they view it. They believe that the Old Testament people are their literal ancestors, and that—
Don't get it twisted. Do not get it twisted. Do you understand me? This right here. Don't ever underestimate the enemy. Don't ever do that. Because that right there will catch you blindsided. You always must be aware that anything can happen. Look at what's happening over in Iran. Sure, maybe they have some stuff going on and evil leaders. They're gonna end up likely using a nuke on that country. I'll tell you that. They want to destroy that country because they're not Jews and they're not aligned with the same philosophy. And then also they can't be controlled by our politics. It's a combination of the most. So if we start falling out of line, like which we are, there's a lot of people like me talking even crazier and more, no more and all this about this topic. When you start seeing people in this country labeled as domestic terrorists because they were trying to protect people from ICE or whatever, even if they were pushing back against it as rogue dissidents or whatever, you set a dangerous precedent in the United States for allowing Americans to be called terrorists. Okay. Where does that line stop being drawn? Because if it doesn't fall in line with the exact direction that they want us to move, we all will become dissidents and we all will become terrorists because we don't believe in Zionism. If that's the case, you must understand that we are expendable, all of us. Don't ever think that you're not. And don't ever think that your country will do shit about it. Look at what happened to Charlie Kirk. Whether you know what I believe or I don't know whether he's dead or not, look at what happened. They took him out. No, most likely he's dead, right? Because that's what it looks like. So, and also look at what happened to lots of other people that died and were killed, and that our president was killed. And no, they did their best to cover it up. You think that you're not expendable? They don't need pagers, dude. That's just one way to do it. We're going to jump to a different section here. What's up, Marie? And I don't mean to be grim. I'm just saying we are expendable. Don't think we're not. All right. What's up, Marie? Good to see you. $5. Baal and Balaam aren't related in any way. Balaam is a Hebrew name. The other is a Canaanite title that means Lord. Yeah, so Marie brings up a good point about the linguistics. I appreciate that. I can definitely connect the dots here, though, because it is important. Yes, Baal as a word just means Lord or master in the Canaanite languages, right? And yes, Balaam is a different Hebrew word, a person's name, a prophet from Numbers 25, no? Different words, different spellings, and you're technically correct, I would say. And remember, I'm still learning this, but I've learned a lot. But what we need to understand is that when the Bible talks about Baal worship, it's not just talking about people praying to a statue of a rain god. The practices associated with Baal worship are really what matter, okay? And what were those practices? Fertility rituals, temple prostitution, the burning of youngsters. Leviticus specifically forbids, there's a passage there, it's like I think 18 something, forbids passing your children through the fire to Moloch, which was part of the same Canaanite worship system. So in Psalms, they actually say that they sacrifice their sons and daughters to sons and daughters to demons. And then they also say in the Bible, in Jeremiah, they built high places to Baal to burn their sons in the fire as offerings. Child sacrifice, sexual rituals, the powerful usage of the vulnerable as commodities and service to their own spiritual system. Now, fast forward to today, and what are we watching come out of the files right now? What has everybody been covering? What has come out? What has Ian Carroll been covering? What is everything we've been seeing from these files? Jerky might ring a bell, all right? What are we seeing in these documents? Children being terrorized to spike their cortisol levels, sulfuric acid ordered to a private island that they can't account for, a chef with a restaurant called The Cannibal, FBI camera hard drives disappearing. They know that place was wired up. They've told us. People at the highest levels of power engaging in the exploitation of the most vulnerable human beings on this planet. And what did we just read in the Talmud? Assigning monetary, I'm going to show you. We read that earlier. They assign a monetary value to women based on virginity. Passages legislating at what age sex contact with the minor has legal consequence. That's the next video we're going to jump into. And then you look at the ceremonies. The Bohemian Grove with the cremation of care ritual in front of a giant owl, the opening of the tunnel in Switzerland, the CERN, with a ceremony that looked like something straight out of a Baal worship service. The Met Gala with horns, fires, eyes, and all that stuff. Symbols over and over again, symbolism. I'm not saying that every person involved in these things literally worships an ancient Canaanite deity by name. But what I am saying is that there's a pattern. These practices are basically identical. The exploitation of children, the ritualized abuse, the powerful consumption of the vulnerable, the sacrifice of innocence from the benefit of the elite. That's what Baal worship was. That's what Elijah found on Mount Carmel. That's what the prophets spent centuries trying to burn out of Israel. So the question Eli asked is the same question we need to ask now, is how long will you waver between two masters? Because when your government is connected to people whose foundational legal texts legislate the age at which a child could be used, and those same networks are connected to islands and flight logs and being unsealed right now, showing exactly what was done to children, and the same media and political establishment tells you that Judeo-Christian values is telling you to look away from those files. You have to ask yourself something. What God do these people actually serve? Because it's not the God of Abraham, Isaac, or Jacob. It's not the God of who sent his son to say, let the little children come to me. It's not the God who said, whoever causes one of these little ones to stumble, it would be better to him for him to have a millstone hung around his neck and be thrown into the sea. The God of the Bible protects children. The system we're exposing consumes them. And they're telling us to look away. That's not a theological debate. That is just recognition of a pattern. You guys know that's what I do. I recognize patterns and I exploit them. The prophets identified the pattern thousands of years ago, and they gave it a name. Thank you, Marie. Sorry, I went a little. Okay. Let me show you this, because this falls into where we're going to talk about next.
Okay.
I think I had to go pretty high speed on this one. So he talks about the Mishnah.
Mishnah, whatever the Hebrew is there, it has already been established in a previous Mishnah
Whoa. Slow your roll, homeboy.
above 10b, that a woman who is presumed to be a virgin at the time of her marriage is entitled to a ketubah of 200 denarim, whereas a woman who is presumed to be a non-virgin at the time of her marriage is entitled to a ketubah, marriage agreement is what a ketubah is, of 100 denarim, a mina, whatever. The Mishnah we are about to consider continues in its efforts to determine which women are considered virgins for the purpose of the ketubah and which are treated as non-virgins. If a grown-up man has intercourse with a less than 3 years old.
That's disgusting.
Are you seeing this? And they're not condemning this. Or if a young boy less than 9 years old has had with a grown woman, or if a woman has been injured by a stick and as a result her, has been ruptured, in each of these cases the woman is entitled to a ketubah of 200 denarim when she marries. Okay, and you can keep on reading there. You can pause it and read it if you really want to.
Let's do that. It has already been established from the Mishnah, in a previous Mishnah, that a woman who is presumed to be a virgin at the time of her marriage is entitled to a ketubah of 200 denarim, whereas a woman who is presumed to be a non-virgin at the time of her marriage is entitled to ketubah of 100 denarim. The Mishnah we are about to consider continues in its efforts to determine which women are considered virgins for the purposes of the ketubah and which are treated as non-virgins if a grown-up man has had you-know-what with a you-know-who less than 3 years old, if a young boy less than 9 years old has had with a grown woman, or if a woman has been injured by a stick and as a result, her hymen has been ruptured. In each of these cases, the woman is entitled to a ketubah of 200 denarim when she marries. A girl sorry, I had to send that to somebody. That's crazy. A girl who engaged in that when she was less than 3 years old. 3 years old, you guys. 3 is still considered a virgin, for her hymen will grow back. And a woman who engaged in that with a boy who was under 9 is still considered a virgin, for that thing, the thing that they do when you're an adult with a boy of that age, is not considered a significant sexual act. And a woman whose hymen was ruptured as a result of an accident is still entitled to a ketubah of 200 denarim, for she did not lose her virginity through intercourse. These are the words of Rabbi Meir, but the sages disagree with the last part, ruling and say, Bro. Dude, my friend is like, what is that? The Mishnah is in every synagogue in the world. It is their base law. This is the law of their religion of Judaism. It's in every synagogue. Okay, it's not a Talmud or a Torah. It is the foundational law of Judaism. This is the Mishnah. Okay, And that's the Steinsaltz edition, if you look at it right here. From the Tractate Ketubot. I think it's a couple $1,000. Like, we can look at this. Let me see. Can we find this? Can I Tractate? Let me take a note. Tractate Ketubot. It's Steinsaltz edition. Let's go look at how much this costs. I don't even think you could buy it, to be honest. You can't even buy it, can you? I heard that this was expensive, but I don't know. I think like the original full doctrine. Let's ask, let's go to Grok. How much is this book? Okay, 27. I don't know why I heard it was like either hard to find or it was expensive, but okay. Is it hard to find an original copy of the Mishnah to put in a synagogue? And how much do those cost? It's not hard to find. Okay, well, I was misled. Maybe it's not hard to find, or maybe I misunderstood. Pocket small sizes, often $100 to $300. Volna style classic Hebrew editions, $200, $400. Steinsaltz HaMishnah, $360 to $500. Okay, so that's what it is. It wasn't a couple thousand. I think that their whole volume is a few thousand. I hope my camera doesn't die. This isn't good. I have another camera if anything happens. And we'll just switch to my other camera if that happens, okay? I'll set it up right now. Let me put it over here because I think my camera's going to die. They don't want us talking about this. Hold on. I got to set this up. My camera is definitely going to die soon. Hold on. All right. Move this. Okay. And then we can do this, I think. All right, here we go. Let me set this up real quick. Let me unplug. Okay. Give me 1 second. I'm so sorry. I didn't expect to have to do this. OBS Studio. Okay. And then NDI source. I want to make sure that I have this open and available so that this can easily switch over when I need it. Sorry about that. Give me 1 second. Remind me later. Okay, I think I have it here. And I can pull it up when I need to. Let me see. Is that showing it? Not yet. Hold on. I can make it work. Give me 1 second. Start virtual camera. There we go. So it'll be right here. And then I'll have to do this. Okay. All right. So that's available for us. Good. Just in case it dies, we have it. All right. So let's get back to the topic. So what I want to talk about specifically is just that alone. And we're going to go deeper. That was just the first 3 minutes. Actually, I think that's really the bulk of what he covers. But that is, it starts by saying a virgin bride gets 200 gets a ketubah worth 200 denarum. Okay, a non-virgin gets 100. So already we're in a system where a woman's worth is a number based on her body. Okay, that's the foundation. That's their law. That's their foundation of their law. What page is that? I'm reading the chat too. Oh, it doesn't show the page. I think it would be a really good idea to actually study all the different Bibles so that we can actually compare what other religions believe. I agree. That's what we're doing. All right. So think about this. If a grown-up man has had intercourse with a young female less than 3 years of age, I got to stop right there, man. Like, let's read that line again. If a grown-up man has had that with a little girl less than 3, how crazy is that? I've read this a bunch of times already. And I was just beside myself. A grown man and a girl at that young age of under 3? This is in their law? And this is who they say is our greatest allies' biblical text? And what does the law say? Does it say put the man to death? Does it say that this is an abomination? It's right here. Read it. Does it say protect that child? No. It says that, oh, she'll still get $200 when she gets married. Why? Because, and I quote, her hymen will grow back. That's the concern. That's the concern, not the baby, not justice for the child. This is their law. Whether the physical evidence resets so the future marriage contract isn't financially impacted. That's what this legal system is worried about. The transaction, the money, the contract. Then it says if a boy under 9 has relations with the grown woman, she still counts as a virgin because intercourse with a boy that has of that age is not considered a significant sexual act. This is their law right here. For she did not lose her virginity through sexual intercourse. Wait, hold on. Yeah. A boy under 9 is considered a virgin for her intercourse with a boy of that age is not considered a significant sexual act. Wow. It's right on that page right there. And then the third scenario is about a woman whose hymen was broken by a stick, an accident. And then where the rabbis actually disagree with each other is that Rabbi Meir says one thing, the sages say another. But notice what they're not disagreeing about. Nobody's debating about the 3-year-old. Nobody's debating about the 9-year-old. That's settled. That's accepted. That's the only controversy is whether an accidental rupture affects the payout. I'm going to be honest with you guys. When I first saw this, I didn't want to believe it. And then I learned that it's in every synagogue in this religion. But this is the Steinsaltz edition. This is the gold standard English translation of the Talmud used in universities and yeshivas around the world. The context is right there. This video, I don't know if they do the Torah or the Talmud. This is, this one right here.
Do most people come in here and use EBT? Yeah. What would be your estimate? 100%. 100%? Welcome to Kiryas Joel, an ethnically homogenous village of only Hasidic Jews in upstate New York and one of the poorest towns in America with 40% of...
I'm pretty sure this is what they study. I'm asking a homie real quick. He's Jewish. Well, he used to be Jewish family. If this is the same, I sent him the link. But yeah, I mean, I keep coming back to back to Jesus, right? And in Matthew, he said, if you cause one of these little ones to stumble, it would be better to have that. Remember, I said the millstone tied around your neck and be thrown into the sea. I think it says too. He didn't say, let's calculate the ketubah implications. He didn't say, well, if she's under 3, it doesn't really count. He said you'd be better off dead. That's our God. That's my God. That's my Savior. That's the one that they say is boiling in excrement for questioning fucking rabbis. The same rabbis who wrote this page. These fucks. Where am I? Am I lost? Yeah, whatever. Let's delete that. Let's pass that. Yeah. Yeah, we were here. So anyways, yeah, these guys, these fucking bastards, bro. Can you imagine? The same rabbis who wrote that, and they revere these rabbis so much, man. Like, seriously, dude. I'm blown away. And we're all told that we share values with this system. The same system that they spit on Christians, and they're okay with doing you know what to little ones under the age of 3. Not that any age is acceptable. We're told that Judeo-Christianity is a thing, huh? When I look at that page and when I read those words out loud, I'm looking at Matthew and I'm telling you those two things don't live in the same universe as I do. One is to protect the contract. The one that I abide by is the one that protects the child. And so Hasidic Jews, yeah, so he sent me back this and then he sent me a thread. He said somebody's asking if Hasidic Jews actually follow this. I said yes. He said the answer is yes. And then he sent me this. Let me break down how the system works. Okay. Oh, okay. The way it works is like a chain of authority. At the top, you have the Torah, the first 5 books of Moses. Then you have the Mishnah, which was compiled around 200 AD. That's the oral law written down. When the Gemara gets added, which is the rabbinical debates about the Mishnah plus the Gemara together make the Talmud. Then Maimonides comes along in the 12th century and codifies the whole thing into the Mishna Torah. Then in the 1560s, Rabbi Joseph Caro writes the Shulchan Aruch, which becomes the accepted standard code of Jewish law that's still used today. For Orthodox Jews, the Hebrew scriptures are divinely authored text, and therefore every commandment contained therein must be obeyed. The Mishnah and Talmud are considered to have virtually the same status and are called oral Torah. The law, let me see. Let's go over here. The difference in the manner of Reform and Orthodox Jews practice their tradition and grounded in their views of the Hebrew scripture. Let me see if this is if there's something on here that we can go to. These differences in perspective. Okay, so it says there are also law codes such as the Mishna Torah and the Shulchan Aruch, which guide the life of Orthodox Jews. The Hebrew scriptures is a divinely authored text, and therefore every commandment contained therein must be obeyed. The Mishnah and Talmud are considered to have virtually the same. Okay. In my personal opinion, the texts are certainly divinely inspired and reflect our ancestors' best understanding of God and their covenant. Is that so? That's wild, bro. I'm gonna save. I gotta do something with this screenshot. Hold on. This is wild, bro. This is wild. Here we go. Right here. Save Mishnah. Downloads. All right. I'm going to use this, that's for sure. So I have a screenshot here. And we're just going to put this right on the page so we don't forget. And we are going to go to YouTube. This has got me fired up right now. Mishnah under 3 years old. Oh, these fuckers. They don't even talk about children. Let me see. Mishnah, children, sodomy. I don't even know how to spell sodomy. Charlie Kirk. Oh, wow.
So let me just kind of give you a little bit overview, and then we'll talk about the Talmud. So the Torah is the most holy text in Judaism, which is indistinguishable from that as Christians. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. It's the 5 books of Moses, otherwise known as the Pentateuch. Then there is the Tanakh, which includes, the book of Joshua, 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Chronicles. It also includes Psalms and Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Songs of Solomon, right? So on and so forth. Nehemiah, Jeremiah, Esther's. Okay. So that makes up the Old Testament, or they would call the Tanakh, which is basically Torah, Nephilim, and Kvetchim. Okay. Then there's the Talmud. The Talmud is interpretation of the Torah and of the Tanakh. It is basically rabbis arguing back and forth. So let me just kind of give you.
Okay. The Torah itself, the actual text, which he's right, I think there's 5 books: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus. I'm looking at myself in the other camera. Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, right? That's what he said, right?
You a little bit overview, and then we'll talk about the Talmud. So the Torah is the most holy text in Judaism, which is indistinguishable from that as Christians.
Okay, so
Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy.
Okay, yeah. So they call it the Torah, same book, same content. The Torah is also common among all the different versions of the Christian Old Testament. So these 5 books are exactly the same as the first 5 books in the Holy Bible. So if it were stopped there, you could make the argument that we share something. And honestly, that's where most Christians think the conversation ends. And that's the problem. They think Judaism is just the Old Testament without Jesus. That's the misconception. That is the misconception of Judeo-Christian that it depends on, that label, Judeo-Christianity. But where it falls apart is in Orthodox Judaism, the Torah can refer to the entirety of the law, actually, both in written form and in tradition. So when Jews say Torah, they often mean more than just those 5 books. They mean the entire system. The written Torah and the oral Torah, and the oral Torah is the Mishnah, the Gemara, all of it. For Orthodox Jews, the Mishnah and Talmud are considered to have virtually the same status as Scripture and are called oral Torah. So when an Orthodox Jew says, I follow the Torah, they don't just mean Genesis through Deuteronomy. They actually mean the entire rabbinical legal system built through on top of it. That's from what I understand. And I'm pretty sure you could ask anybody. It's not just those 5 books. Then why would they be sitting there studying all of this time for just those 5 books, bro? That's stupid. That's not true. Right? So, anyways, yes, the texts themselves are those 5 texts, but that's just one piece of their common ground. But the religion of Judaism is not built on the Torah alone, though. That's the thing, man. And they depend on that for Judeo-Christianity to fall through, to become part of the system. Let me see. Okay, so now we're going to go into a little bit of Baal. And that's why Judeo-Christian is a lie. Not because we don't share the Torah text. We do, those 5 books, but because what they built on top of it is a completely different religious system that explicitly rejects and curses the person at the center of ours. That is the whole point of this live stream. Let me fix my camera. That is the whole point of this, right? Let me see if I can. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to get my thing is like, okay. All right, so let's see Baal here. Hopefully, are you guys enjoying this? I know this is like way different than my typical content, but I'm learning. I've been learning a lot, and I want to know what the hell is going on with Judeo-Christians. Let me know in the chat how you guys feel about this content. Yeah, let me know in the chat. Okay, we're gonna run the video I just had queued up. Where'd it go? Where is it? Oh, here it is.
There is a name that shows up in almost every moment of crisis in Israel's history: Baal. He wasn't just one more idol among the crowd of pagan gods. He was the chief rival of the true God for centuries. That is why he is the false god most mentioned in the Bible. And do you know what's most frightening? Israel, even knowing the true God, could not break free from him. The struggle against Baal was so intense that it almost destroyed the faith and the nation of God's chosen people. That's why in this video we will seek to understand why the worship of this false god was so incredibly seductive, and how the Lord showed in spectacular fashion that Baal was nothing more than a fraud. The word Baal is a title that means lord or owner in the Semitic languages. The curious thing is that every city had its own lord, its own Baal, all of them considered different manifestations of the same deity. In other words, Baal was like a franchise of false gods. Each region adapted its version, but in the end it was always the same deceiving spirit. The Canaanites believed that Baal was the god who sustained life. He was responsible for rain, for the fertility of the earth and of human beings, and for the harvest. His story was told as a constant struggle against chaos. First, Baal was said to have defeated Yam, the sea dragon, symbol of primordial chaos. But the threat did not end there. The god Mot, whose name means death, represented drought, barrenness, and everything that destroyed life. He even defeated Baal and took him to the realm of the dead. Without Baal, the rain ceased and the land became sterile. But Anat, his sister and consort, found the body, avenged herself on Mot, and brought Baal back to life. From then on, he would rise again every year, in the same cycle of death and resurrection, explaining the rainy seasons that sustained Canaanite agriculture. And here lies the key to the problem. Israel lived in an agricultural land. They depended entirely on rain to survive. No wonder the temptation to worship Baal was so great. It seemed like the perfect shortcut to material security. If a Hebrew was going through hardships, what would it cost him to make an offering to Baal to see if life improved? But the Lord did not approve of such an attitude. Scholars have noticed that some psalms seem to steal for God the titles and attributes that were once given to Baal. A clear example is Psalm 29. There, the voice of God is described as the thunder that echoes over the waters, as the storm that breaks the cedars of Lebanon, as the earthquake that shakes deserts and strips forests bare. All of these were images associated with Baal, the supposed lord of the storm. But the psalmist makes it clear. It is not Baal who commands the rain, the thunder, and the lightning. It is the Lord, the true owner of creation. Even Lebanon, a sacred place linked to Baal, appears humiliated. The mountains skipping like calves before the power of Israel's God. It is as if the psalm were a holy irony, showing who was truly in control. And there's more. The peoples of that region believed that Baal could also restore the life of someone who had died. But in 1 Kings 17, Elijah raised the son of the widow of Zarephath, not in the name of Baal, but by the power of the living God. God was demonstrating his dominion in the very sphere that many of that time believed only Baal had power. Speaking of Elijah, it was this prophet who led the famous episode of the Battle of the Gods on Mount Carmel. This was not just an isolated scene, but a confrontation loaded with meaning. The context was that for 3.5 years, not a single drop of rain had fallen in Israel. The land was dry, the people desperate, and the God who supposedly controlled the storm, the rains, and the fertility of the land remained silent. Where was Baal, the so-called Lord of the Clouds? He could not deliver what he promised. And that silence was in itself a blow to his reputation, for his specialty was supposedly sending rain. Elijah then gathered the people before Mount Carmel, located between the Phoenicians, official worshippers of Baal, and Israel, who were supposedly to follow Yahweh. The prophet asked a question that still echoes today. How long will you waver between two masters? If the Lord is God, follow him. But if Baal, follow him. It was time to decide. 2 altars would be prepared, 2 sacrifices offered, and the God who answered with fire would be recognized as the true one. But the choice of the sign was not random. The fire carried 3 deep meanings. First, fire was a sign of the very presence of God. Many times when God manifested himself, fire appeared. In the burning bush before Moses, in the pillar of fire that guided Israel in the desert, and even in the vision of the throne in Ezekiel. The idea here is that the true God would have to reveal himself in a real way. Second, fire was associated with Baal's own domain. In Canaanite traditions, he is depicted wielding lightning and thunderbolts. Baal was known as the Lord of Fire and Storm. That is why the challenge was so strategic. If Elijah were answered, Yahweh would be defeating Baal precisely in the area of his greatest pride. And third, fire symbolized the acceptance of the sacrifice. This type of offering was made when the people asked something specific from the deity. And the request of the moment was obvious. the end of the drought. If the fire came, the prayer would be answered, and the later rain could only be attributed to the god who accepted the sacrifice. Thus, fire and rain were closely connected in this challenge. The prophets of Baal started early, shouting, dancing around the altar, even cutting themselves. This practice was part of mourning rituals, since in ancient texts it was said that even the gods shed blood when Baal died. All this created a spectacle of despair. But despite the frantic effort, nothing happened. The biblical text describes it with irony. No one answered. No one paid attention. Elijah, on the other hand, mocked them,
So, well, I'll just
saying
let it
perhaps
play a
Baal was
little more.
meditating, busy, traveling, or even sleeping. This is interesting because in Ugaritic texts involving this god, when the goddess Anat goes looking for Baal, she finds him hunting. The Ugaritic literature that portrays his death repeats the
Actually, I want to play this one. This was recommended. I think this is the one that was recommended from Mark. Let me pull this up.
It's a pretty known fact that the Jews are God's chosen people, that the Jewish homeland is Israel, that the Jews believe in the
This isn't
Old Testament, and that the Old Testament is about Jews.
I don't want to go
However, almost none
to the Jews and all that anymore. I think we've made it very clear. I mean, let me see what this guy actually says. I can't see because of my. What does he say here? Let me watch the first like 20 seconds.
of these facts are true. Nowhere in the Bible does it call the Jews God's chosen people. Modern day Israel isn't really the homeland of the Jews. The Jews don't really believe in the Old Testament, and only maybe 5% of the people in the Old Testament can even be considered Jewish. So now that you've branded me an anti-Semite, we
can't do with the music. To be honest, that's what bothers me. Does he?
Shem is the son of.
Yeah, I don't know why they play this stupid freaking music. I'm looking for one piece of content. Hold on one second. Give me a second. I'll find it right now. I just started looking. I know exactly where it's at. So 1 second. Okay. Is it here? Here it is. Give me 1 second.
All right, Jesse on fire. Welcome back.
He does these videos on occasion. Just want to make sure. I'm going to look at the transcript real quick to make sure this is the one that I'm looking for. Here we are. Okay, 1 second. Boom. Oh, okay. Sorry. Like I said, this is a pop-up live stream. We were private. Members only. We were members only first. And then we were going deep into this. Let me read some of the super chats while I get this set up. What's up? First, let me welcome Devil-Eyed Elvis. Welcome to the Dankster community. It's a pleasure to have you. Danks, have you watched Babylon Rising? I have not, but it's on my watch list. Thank you for reminding me, and thank you for the super chat. Measure Man, welcome. What's up, bro? Good to see you, dog. Passing through, Sabri responded, thank you for doing this. We need to spread your message to as many as possible. Yeah, I saw her. Did she email me back? I did say name a date and time, and I'll be there. I haven't checked my email today. So Sabby Sabs wants your boy on the show. Oh, she did. She just did 20 minutes ago. Hi, Danks. Mass surveillance would be great. I'll CC Tony so he can handle communications. Tony, I would like to set up a time with Danks, please. Will do. All right, cool, bro. The White House new app just got. Okay, cool. Yeah, let's get together maybe after this and we'll talk about it. Thank you. Looking forward to it. Thanks for the super. What's up, Lori? Good to see you again. Thanks for the super chat. Thank you, Danks. This is so important of Americans to know. This satanic worship is invading our country. We are freaking paying for our own downfall. Thank you. Thank you. We are literally paying for our own downfall. And when somebody says, oh, they can't do that, they know that, I'm not harping on you. Who said it, Jeannie? I'm not harping on you. But I'm trying to tell you, do not let them trick you into thinking that we are not attackable. Because we are. We are. And it is by far one of the most concerning things at the forefront of my day-to-day. When I see Pete Hegseth on stage, when I see people talking about Zionism and Christian Judeo bullshit, it makes me sick, because I showed you the text. I'll show it to you again in case you're late. Okay? Look. Let's read it again. The Mishnah we are about to consider continues in its efforts to determine which women are considered virgins for the purposes of the Ketubah. What is a Ketubah? What is a Ketubah in Mishnah? A mandatory, legally binding marriage contract that secures a wife's financial rights, ensuring a guaranteed payment. That's freaking disgusting, bro. Thank you, Deviled-Eyed Devils. Deviled-Eyed Elvis. I got it. Deities. Isn't that wild? If you take your name, deities, I might call you deities. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. Been saying for 20 years our taxes are paying for our own demise. Yeah. Man. We are literally being destroyed right in front of our faces, man. I just can't even believe it. I mean, I guess I can. Nana, what's up, Nana? $4.99. Hey, thanks. Rich Tidwell breaks this down really well. Yeah, hey, thanks for letting me, reminding me of that, or telling me that. I went and checked his channel and I subscribed. So I'm going to watch the podcast. They all seem to be about an hour long. So I will definitely go and check him out. This looks great. So thank you for the tip. We're going to move into this, okay, the Hollywood satanic cult stuff. And I kind of want to explain first. We went through what the Torah actually is and how it relates to our Bible, the 5 books of Moses from Genesis through Deuteronomy, right? That's essentially the same text we have. That's the one piece of common ground. But Judaism isn't built on the Torah alone, right? It's built on the Talmud, on Maimonides, a 2,000 years of rabbinical legal commentary that really goes in a completely different direction from where we went with Christ. Old covenant, new covenant. Now, what I want to show you that goes further back than the Talmud, because when we're talking about patterns that we've been talking about today, the commodification, the commodities of human beings, the exploitation of the vulnerable, the powerful using systems of worship to serve themselves, this isn't new, man. This goes back thousands of years, okay? The Bible has documented it. We're going to watch this video about Baal, all right? The Baal of worship. And I want you to pay attention to what Baal worship actually involves, because it wasn't just praying to a statue or to another god. Baal worship is built around fertility rituals. And remember, we're talking about young and the the hymen or whatever that gets remade, and it's concerning. In Leviticus, God specifically forbids passing children through the fire. And Jeremiah talks about them building high places to burn their sons as offerings. And Psalm says they sacrificed their daughters and sons to demons. I said this before. And it's etched into my mind because I've gone through and I've read it. I'm like, what? The prophets spent centuries fighting this. Elijah stood, again, I told you, on Mount Carmel and forced the question that I think we need to force. I'm telling you, I mean, how long are we we have 2 masters that are being served from our higher ups. actually they're acting like they're serving one good one, when in reality, behind our backs and sometimes to our faces, as we see with the files, straight to our face. Maybe if I just go straight to Dauntless Dialogue itself, because Jesse, I know, rubs people's rub the soul the wrong way, because his voice and the way he talks is kind of all over. Let me see if I can find this. Dauntless, is it Dauntless Dialogue, right? Let's see if I can find is it not on let me see where he found it. I think I can find it. Because this content is, where did he, is it not on YouTube? Oh, yeah. Oh, no, it's on his website, huh? Okay, I guess you're going to have to be forced to watch, Jesse. Because I think he goes and he pays for this site. So they are doing things. The prophet called it Baal worship, okay? Jesus drove the money changers out of the temple, and here we are in 2026 watching the same patterns emerge from the same types of institutions, protected by the same types of power structures, funded by the same types of money. And the phrase they use to keep Christians from asking questions about any of it is Judeo-Christian values. The phrase is the modern equivalent of those high places. It's the king. It's the thing that keeps God's people, I guess you could say, from seeing clearly. It's really the thing that makes Christians support a system they would reject if they read the text and followed the money. Let's watch this.
So we are going to have one of those videos where everybody gets what they want, right? You guys all know that you want me to talk about people in Hollywood worshiping the guy down there or the deity down there, whatever. You know what I mean? But Candace put this up a couple days ago, and we did a video about where we talked about it on Play With Matches on my other channel that I do with Gabrielle, my wife. Link is in the description. And we're going to talk more about it now, though, because it is just so direct and overt what she's saying about, You
want to continue this series like this? We might be able to do a little Sunday something. I'll think about it.
What they worship in Hollywood. And then I'm going to show you a shocking piece of another Dauntless Dialogue documentary that I am sure, even if you went and subscribed to their whole platform, you won't have found this yet. But I'm going to show it to you now. And it's a bunch of stuff. It's just like, this is just what it is, man. This is just what it is. Okay. There's no like, oh my gosh, are we reaching for the stars? And, we're coming up blank on evidence that the claims we're making are real. It's like, nope, this is just what it is, man. Okay. There is a reason that they are attacking this particular way of life all the time. You know what I mean? And so we're going to go after that again. And then I also, before we even look at that, we're going to be looking at a little bit of some Andrew Tate, who is talking about a very famous YouTuber, and something that when he pointed it out, I was like, that's weird. That is weird. He's talking about Mr. Beast. Anyway, so let's jump right into it. Go ahead, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. I appreciate you guys.
Yes. Also, please hit the like button for your boy. I hope this doesn't get demonetized or limited or whatever. I'd really appreciate if you guys tried to help your boy out and shared this, liked it. It would mean a lot. Before we dive in, I'll go ahead and read this super chat. I feel like people go to church to learn the Bible, and opposite, it should to reinforce. So when something is said, you get up and walk out. Church isn't a building. Watch Book of Enoch. Oh, I know about Book of Enoch. I know about the Nephilim and all of that. I mean, of course. That stuff is important to know, and they even mention it in the Genesis, and they just leave it out. It's crazy. It's like, don't you think that the powers that be would want to control what information we bring into our minds so that we don't push back? You know, don't you think? Why would they want to let us know that there are other gods and demons and angels and this world is not what they tell us? Why would you think that? Why would they let us? Why would you believe that they would want us to even know any of that shit? They don't. Obviously. I'm looking at this Dauntless Dialogue page. This thing looks pretty dope. I might buy it. How much is it? Premium? How much does it cost? Damn, this looks dope. I've never been to the page. What's free? Interesting. Oh, okay. So this is a dope site. They did a pretty good job on it. Human farming. Yeah, I don't know if this could be played on YouTube, but I might go and look for some stuff and maybe make some content. Maybe this would be good content for the Rumble channel. What do you guys think? We could do that. Do you guys watch? Do you have Rumble? Put a 1 in the chat. R. Put an R in the chat if you use Rumble. Because maybe we could do, I wouldn't mind going like all the way in and just saying whatever. This is my main channel, right? So
guys doing that, and like this video. All right, I called an audible. I'm going to do the Dauntless Dialogue documentary that we're going to be reacting to first, because I actually recorded it at the end, but I'm going to put it up here because you guys need to see.
So then maybe on Sundays we'll have a weekly Rumble. So we would like start it on YouTube, kind of like Jimmy Dore and Valhalla and them. We'll start it, we'll go soft, and then like after 20 minutes, we'll just jump straight to Rumble. Yeah, I have a paid Rumble too. Okay.
This stuff as context for the rest of what we're going to talk about. Jesse, what are you doing down in the corner? Well, I have decided that I am going to make myself a little bit smaller so you can see more of the screen as we go through this section of the Dauntless Dialogue documentary, The Devil's Playground. Now, I've been talking to Adam, who runs Dauntless Dialogue. I'm going to do a live stream with them coming up here. So I'll keep you guys posted on that. It'll probably be the week after I get back from Cabo. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm going to be in Mexico from Saturday to Saturday. So next week uploads will be a little bit less frequent. There's no way I'm going to be able to do
What's going on?
2 videos a day. I will try my best to do at least 1 per day. If I miss a day, whatever. Like, I'm literally on vacation, but I can't. Like, I actually can't just not upload it. It makes me so crazy. And also, when I get back, I always have to like build my channel back up.
Okay.
I cannot stress enough. If you join, I would just pay for the year up front, because there's no way that you are going to be unhappy with it.
Crowley's shadow over Tinseltown.
Aleister Crowley, by the way, is the godfather of real Luciferian doctrine. Okay. They have that's who he's going to be referencing. I just want to make sure that's clear up front, because you have the guy who was like the head of Church of Satan. That's I can't remember that guy's name right off the top, but Aleister Crowley, that's the real guy. And we'll do a whole episode on him, actually.
And that guy was also the person that, yeah, Jesse definitely talks a lot. I tell him, I make fun of him all the time. TPUSA's head person, remember the guy that worked with Alexander Crowley or whatever? That person was as a board member or like part of the TPUSA thing.
Just so you know.
Continues to loom large, even to this day. OTO, the secret society that Crowley once led, has seemingly reemerged as an influential body in Hollywood.
There you go. That's what I was talking about. Well, actually, there's probably going to be the Mr. Beast part later in the video. I think I'm going to put this before it, but I already recorded it and I referenced in there that when we're talking about Mr. Beast, that Aleister Crowley's nickname that he gave himself was the Great Beast 666. So think about that when you see that later.
But of all the famous stars who might immerse themselves with Crowley, there is one who stands out as the true modern embodiment of the great beast. In the world of art, no name stirs more controversy than Marina Abramovic. Her body of work is a disturbing amalgam of violence, mutilation, sex, and the occult, not unlike the works of Aleister Crowley.
Yeah. Oh my God. I'm going to have to edit all of this. Oh my God.
Jesse.
Oh my God. Okay, let me tell you guys something. This is 100% true. When I watch Dauntless Dialogue, 9 out of 10 times, I'm actually watching it in bed as I go to sleep. And so a lot of times I'm not actually looking at the screen. That is way crazy.
He couldn't even play the whole thing. Let me see. Okay. Yeah, whatever that. Jesse, he literally freaks out, right? But this is what A-list celebrities attend as entertainment. And we just spent hours. Think about this. We just spent hours reading Talmudic texts that treat human beings as transactional commodities. Connect the dots, man. Connect the dots. For real.
Candace story also, and then the Mr. Beast.
Satanic symbols and occult themes are a regular motif in pop culture, especially now more than ever. And while plenty of people have started to note it.
But like, why do you think? You know what I mean? Everybody just assumes that it's like, oh, they're just being edgy, man. They're just being edgy.
Bro, everyone says they're just being edgy. That's the excuse. That's always the excuse. The same way Judeo-Christian is an excuse or an answer. It's a label designed to keep you looking any deeper.
Did they say that? Did they say that? Because in part of the video that I had to skip over, Marina Abramovic, okay, who is like could not possibly do more to tell you exactly who she is in this whole thing. And she literally said, if the ceremony, or I'm sorry, the ritual is art, then it's art. If it's done somewhere else, then it's not art.
He makes, they're just being provocative is something that they say. You see it all the time. No? That is, again, it's the same energy of the Judeo-Christian values. It's a phrase designed to shut down your pattern recognition and a label that exists to keep you from looking deeper. I'm telling you. Because the second you start looking at what's behind that label, this is the second you start to read the text, start pulling the documents, start watching the ceremonies. Once you do that, then the label just falls apart. It's like a fraud. Edgy is a piercing. Edgy is a tattoo, right? What Marina Abramovic does is ritualize systematic, evil, satanic religions stuff. And it's a repetitious, right? It's attended by the most powerful people in the world. That's not edgy, man. That's worship. So we need to be questioning like these powerful people when you see these things and whatever they do. I don't know, the symbols. We need to be questioning who the hell are doing that. And are they involved in this 3-year-old type stuff that we were reading earlier?
I had to go through, I fast forwarded through a section where she had a party at her play, she put on this party and there was like every A-list celebrity. Wow. an enormous number of A-list celebrities that you've heard of. And they have a cake in the middle of the room.
They put her in charge of kids. What are you talking about, bro? What am I gonna do? How do I look this up? What are you saying, bro? Zelensky, Biden, Abramovich, Ukraine children. Is that for real? Oh, what? No way, bro. No way.
What's going on, everybody? So I got my robe on. I'm feeling comfortable. I'm ready to relax. And I see this come across my table, and I said, man, I got to talk about it. The people have to know about it.
Who's this dude, bro? Let me subscribe to this cat.
Hopefully most of you guys know about this, war with Ukraine and Russia that's going on. If you haven't heard about it, then you've been living under a rock, right? And so America has given Ukraine, or they have approved at least up to 113 billion in aid. Now,
What? When was this? 2 years ago?
like that's a big number. But we still got people living in poverty over here. And then we're bringing in all these people across the border. And every time I watch a video, I'm like, yo, where's
I gotta save this transcript. This is wild, bro. Yeah, I save all my transcripts that I watch content on. So you know. I think you should probably too. If you want to refer back to it, you can use an AI, you can read through it. I always go back to a lot of my transcripts. I have a whole bunch. I have so many documents. I wish I could show you. But StreamYard doesn't make it easy. I have thousands of transcripts.
Here's the women and children. These are like all military age individuals crossing the border. They're filling up the police stations in Chicago. I see it in a lot of other states. I'm like, man, something is going on. The Bible talks about lawlessness. We see what's going on in California, and these people just robbing, and going in stores, taking stuff boldly. Like something is going on. And I believe like if we don't pay attention and you're not prepared, you're going to be in for a rude awakening. So this guy, Zelensky, first of all, you see the images here, right? Dancing in heels. When I first seen this guy, in the national spotlight started getting on this story, even before
Is that him? No, that's not him, is it?
Seen these pictures, says something's not right with this guy, and I'm not really feeling him like that.
Is that him? Chat, can you guys tell me, is that Zelensky, bro? That's not him, is it? Bro, what is that, dog? Are you for real?
Seen these pictures, says something's not right with this guy, and I'm not really feeling him like.
You're sure? Everybody says yes. No way. He was a dancer? Wow. Wow. Mark, I trust you, bro. You want to come on stage, Mark? Do you want to come up here with me?
Like that in the spirit. And then I saw these pictures and I'm saying, oh, and then I saw that, the Democrats just love this guy. And I'm like, okay, that's a big.
No, I'm saying you, Mark.
Red flag.
Mark and Measured Man. I'd like to have you guys up here. I've been wanting to have Measured on too. But Mark, I'd like to have you. Measured, I want to have you too. You guys both, if you want. I'm going to put the link. I'm only going to allow those two. Anybody can click it, but I'm just going to remove you from the chat. So I'm going to put it in here. You don't have a cam. It's okay. You don't need a camera, bro, if you want to talk. I want to cover some of this stuff. I'm going to pin it. I messed it up. Let me fix it. Measured Man and Mark, if you want to come up, I'm going to pin it. You guys can come up. You don't have to. Don't feel pressured. I just wanted to invite you guys.
For me. And now, to put the cherry on top, right? And this is how I know you just got to trust what you feel in your spirit, because it's like, you think, okay, maybe there's some bias there. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Nope. Zelensky asked Marina, let me see, make sure I say her name right. Abramovic. Is that how you say it? Let me see. Abramovic. All right. Anyways, I've talked about this witch many times before. He has asked her to be the ambassador for Ukraine to build the schools and teach the children. Let's read this. Vladimir, is that how you say his name? Zelensky has asked Marina, the performance artist, to be an ambassador for Ukraine. She's a fierce critic of Vladimir Putin's illegal invasion, said the Ukrainian president, and has asked her for help in rebuilding the schools.
Why?
The 76-year-old Serbian is holding her first solo exhibition in the UK and is the first female artist to have a major show in the main galleries of the Royal Academy of Arts in London. Visitors to the...
Whoa, that is something else, bro. This is mind-boggling. President Zelensky of Ukraine, the guy our government has sent that much money to, ask that freaking psychopath. My gosh, bro, what is going on?
And you know, they can make cakes look like anything, like perfect.
Why did nobody in mainstream media talk about this or ask? Why? Nobody said, hey, wait a minute. Why is the president of a country receiving $113 billion of our tax money, choosing a woman known globally for occult rituals to be an ambassador for children's education? Nobody questioned that. Nobody ever asked that question. The reason it never gets asked is because of the same reason nobody asks what the Talmud says about Jesus. I'm going to keep tying this shit back. Trust me. I'm going to keep tying it back. It's like when you've got somebody, what's up, Mark? Welcome. I'll give me 1 second. I will keep tying this back to the original Judaic text, the Talmud, the Mishnah, okay? The reason it never gets asked is because they don't want you to know what they feel and what they do about people and Christians and Jesus. The same reason nobody ever asks where this $800 million of Hasbara money goes. I know where it goes. I have a whole website built for it. Right? Oh, Americans for Transparency. I've expanded it. I added, was your church geofence? There's $170 million here. But what he says in this video, that is crazy. What's up, Mark? Good to have you, bro.
Hey, Danks, how's it going?
Good, man. Thanks for joining. Hopefully, I didn't pull you from anything. You don't have to be here for too long if you don't want. I just wanted to.
No, I was running back and forth trying to make another pot of coffee here, and
I want
just
some.
Caught you on the on the Zelensky dancing show. That's him. That's definitely him.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. You follow this type of stuff much? Do you know about the history of this stuff?
No, I just know about it from our involvement in Ukraine and what they posted about Zelensky, and I've got clips recorded on my PC here of his flaming dancing acts.
Yeah, I'm looking up to see. Oh my gosh, bro. Look at this. Are you serious? I'm just gonna turn the music off. This is the president of Ukraine, bro. What?
That's our allies.
That's wow. Oh my gosh, it is him.
I'm kind of shocked you haven't seen all this already. Really.
I haven't. No, I've just started reading. Like, I'm just literally right now just figuring this shit. What the heck? That is our president. I mean, might as well. That is one of our presidents. They all work together, no? This is him, man.
It's one evil club, you know.
Wow. 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 I gotta make a post out of this. That's crazy. I'm gonna bookmark this shit. Wow. All right, let's go back to Jesse's here.
You guys seen, like, is it cake or is it real? Well, she had them make a cake of a naked female human, okay? And then everybody's cutting it up and just devouring it. On the inside of it it's like a red velvet cake. It's like, it looks so real, and everybody's just chopping into it and eating it. They're all, oh yeah. And you're all, oh my, it's that thing is so demented. Like there's no, I'm not touching that cake. If I'm not, I mean, I would never be there, but, yeah, for the uninitiated, that is a,
recorded on,
that's a tell. That's a, you know, that's like a, I mean, I'm sure that there are artists that are, you know, like photographers that are just cover your eye or whatever. But like what it actually means, according to the experts, is that is a, you know, that's a shout out that like, hey, I'm on this team. The all-seeing eye. Just like it would be if you know, tattooed pizza on the inside of your lip and then showed the world. There it is, dude. The all-seeing eye. Now, let's get into today's story, though, about Candace and her take on this. All right. Now, let's get into it right now. I'm going to stop talking about what I was talking about because I was like, I should probably reshoot that. Now, after trying 3 times, I am just going to forget about the whole thing. And maybe during a live stream.
So I remember this. So Ye and so last year I called Ye and asked him to please re-record all of his masters because I wanted to sample one of his songs. The problem is that all of Ye's old music is owned by masters. He and I discussed how genius it was that Taylor Swift recorded hers, and he has been wanting to make time to do so. Yeah, so I mean, and then if we think about who actually owns all of these industries, right? It's the same people that their religious texts are the Talmudic Mishnah with these law, right? So there's let me see if I can find this video. I think Jesse had covered it. It's the Jesse on Fire, Mouthy Buddha, Balenciaga series. I think it's in here somewhere. See if I can find it. Let me go back to Jesse's channel. He covers something else. And this is what I'm trying to show. The reason why I'm bringing all this up is because Mouthy Buddha. This is the stuff that they, oh man, I not find it. I'm gonna maybe go deeper, especially on Rumble, where we can possibly attach these same people to this very same religion.
In 2024, Michelle was approached at an event by a kick streamer who pressed her to say, God is good. Her response speaks volumes.
I hear God is good. God is good.
God is Baal. Why does Baal keep coming up in this, right? Let's see. Jesse talking. Does he have anything from that? Let's see. Okay, here we go.
From like anytime I use their stuff, I say over and over and over and over and over. Dauntless dialogue. Okay. It is incredible. It has all of Mouthy Buddha stuff. Mouthy Buddha disappeared for years and he was on Dauntless Dialogue. There's unbelievable Mouthy Buddha content that you've never seen. But in addition to all of that, no one covers this topic better than the creators that are on Dauntless. Watch this.
Michelle Lamy is a cultural and fashion icon from France. Not only has she used fashion as an outlet, but in many ways, her whole life could be seen as performance art. She was born and raised in the Alps.
So do you, Mark, do you know about the Judaic religion, and is Baal their god actually? Like, I'm trying to figure out, that's what I need to research on myself. I know Measured Man put it up. I mean, is Baal their god? That's the one thing I would like to know, is if that is actually who they're worshiping and we're being duped. Do you know anything about that or no?
I was bouncing between tabs here, between StreamYard, and I missed who was Jesse directing that at?
He was showing, so basically it was...
Referring to, I should say.
It's this lady, let me see if I can play it back here. So...
Not only has she used fashion as an outlet, but a cultural and fashion icon from France.
Or on Dauntless. What's this?
The name.
Michelle Lamy is a cultural...
Michelle Lamy?
I've heard the name, but in fact, when I was researching, what's his name? Who created the entire,
Michelle
Aleister Crowley, and I meant to dig further into her. I've got a lot to learn, on this too, as well as, just like you.
Yeah, I think this would be good for us to go deeper into and learn, because as we see, these people are all gathering together at the events that are hosted by these people. And their agenda is really to sacrifice kids. I think that she is, well, I can't say that for sure. Sacrifice kids. I mean, that's what it seems like. That's what I've heard, right? And she's in France. I think she was born in the 40s, so she's older. I don't know if I think she's still alive. And so,
right, Abramovic is the more recent version, Yeah,
I'll put her name in the chat. It's Michelle. I think it's with one L. Let me type it out. Michelle Lamy. And so she was from what I remember, a stripper at like county fairs as a teenager, and then went into law school and then practiced as a lawyer. And then she ultimately got into the LA scene and started doing cult restaurant nightclub stuff, and then became kind of prominent from there. And then she's like connected to Rick Owens, then like ASAP Rocky, Nicki Minaj, I think, like Kanye West, Nicki Minaj and stuff. They've all orbited around her in the past.
Right.
And then she has a daughter, which her name is Scarlet Rouge as well. But
fashion icon from France. Not only has she used fashion as an outlet, but in many ways, her whole life could be seen as performance art. She was born and raised in the Alps near Oyonnax-Haas, worked a cabaret in Paris in the 70s, practiced law.
What kind of fairs have strippers? SV schedule said in the chat. French ones.
Owned and ran 2 landmark restaurants in Hollywood, and has been described as La Grande Prêtresse Démoniaque de Hollywood, the great demonic priestess of Hollywood.
And I'm sorry, where did they say she's from again? France. I feel like that's come up recently. Did we talk about that yet? Depends on where you are, where I end up putting this in the video. But if you haven't seen it yet, we are definitely going to be talking about the connection between this and the royal, well, not the royal, the prime minister and
yeah, I mean, let me see if there's anything else here. I'll play a little bit more.
Relates to the Balenciaga scandal, and that'll lead you down a rabbit hole.
Lamy's presence lurks in the periphery of the spotlight, strategically placed on the bridge between high fashion and music. With a grin full of crooked gold teeth and fingers stained black, her look is unmistakable. It's not hard to imagine why she's rumored to be the one the execs call when an artist wants to level up through the occult. She's also the co-founding partner of Owens Corp with her husband, the notorious Dark Prince of Fashion, Rick Owens. Over 30 years his senior, Owens considers Lamy his muse, crediting her with the success of his post-apocalyptic dystopian-style fashion brand. In a 2017 tribute to Michelle by Red Bull Music, Owens said this about his bride.
Ready for this?
Yeah. Well.
Okay, you guys just saw all the imaging, right? Okay, obviously those things are meant to look like scenes out of hell, right? All of that. Listen to what he says about his wife that he's been together with for, I mean, if you look at that, years. Okay, listen to this.
When I was in my rock crystal crib, my wet nurse was warned of a demon that would hunt me down and violate me. I never know when she's going to stab me, but one day I'm going to shoot her in the head, right before I shoot myself. Ah, c'est ça l'amour. In 2022, Rick Owens' Dark Star sneaker brand released their infamous collab with Converse called Turbo Dark that featured two demonic, androgynous models forming a pentagram with their bodies, a far cry from Converse's traditional Americana roots. This juxtaposition is highly representative of their work's intended effect on society. Much like Abramovich, Lamy has extensive connections in the upper echelon of society and is regularly seen.
I want to show that I was looking at something on here. I found this, basically this article. So this is from today, Monday, March 30th, 2026, in the future. Today's the 29th. So this is out of Israel, I guess. So this is from the Israel Hayom. This is where we stand. Bottom of darkness, children, ard, and ritual ceremonies expose the horrors. Multiple women recount organized abuse, including rituals conducted by people they knew, even close family members. After months of interviews with victims, their families, treatment professionals, and experts in Israel and abroad, a disturbing picture emerges with descriptions difficult to read. I suffered painful, you know what, truly felt like I was splitting into two. It's a terrible experience, but there's something about these things, perhaps in their strangeness, that's like maybe the hardest component is that if you tell people about these things, they'll think you're crazy. I remember many types of severe abuse, but there's something about these ritualistic abuses that makes them the bottom of darkness. In direct words and with a clear voice, Amuna, pseudonym like all victims' names in this article, describes the severe abuse she allegedly experienced in her childhood. Originized abuse that included ceremonies with supposed religious significance, horrifying ceremonies in which religious people, some from her own family, sacrificed her as offering for spiritual transcendence or redemption. Amuna is not alone. Wow, more than 10 women with whom we spoke describe a severe phenomenon raising serious concern that in Israel, like many countries worldwide, organized abuse of youngsters is occurring right under everyone's nose. Perhaps the world knows that occurs, that incest exists, but the world doesn't know. These acts have been kept secret for years, perhaps because of their insanity. It was always very, very strange, as if there was an internal logic, but it was so crazy. Very strange things happen there, normalized in ritualistic and orderly manner. There's a specific time. There's when to say this verse and when to say that verse. There's an order, as if things are supposed to be done this way. Each woman we interviewed during our investigation has a different life story. They come from different areas of the country, from north to south. Each is at a different place in her life. Some are students, others work and manage careers and families' lives. And there are also young women barely surviving, clinging to life by their fingernails. These women did not know each other previously, grew up in different communities, and come from different sectors and religious streams. Yet, the ritual abuse stories they describe are similar in ways that compel us to listen and not to turn a blind eye. Blessed who releases the bound. Victims, sacrifice, punishment, correction, transcendence, redemption. These are recurring concepts in the testimonies, the prayers, the mutterings, the ecstasy surrounding these victims, extreme pain, humiliation, and torture, the crushing of personality and soul, testimony after testimony after testimony from women who experienced organized childhood abuse that included group are performed within ceremonial ritual frameworks. Several rabbis' names appeared repeatedly in testimonies. Multiple complaints filed at different police stations around the country were all closed relatively quickly, even when suspicions arose previously about a network harming children in Jerusalem. Police investigators at best lacked sufficient tools or knowledge to properly investigate. A man named Benjamin Satz was convicted and sentenced in 2013 to imprisonment for committing indecent acts and sodomy against youngsters under the age of 8. Another suspect was acquitted due to reasonable doubt. In practice, dozens of children remained traumatized and required years of emotional therapy. Wow. This is a wild article. The youngest and most vulnerable. Wow. This is terrible. Is there video on this? Let me see if we can find it with Grok. Is there video interviews of this? Are there any videos on YouTube that are similar experiences on my live stream right now? The reason why I limit to just YouTube is because I don't want to get my stream taken off. Satanic ritual. Oh.
Survivors testify. MKs participated in sadistic sexual rituals and
Okay, hold on. I need something other than this. What is this?
What's up, you guys? Welcome to The Imagination. I'm your host.
This is 2 hours. I want to find something coverage. Older related. What is this?
It would not be an exaggeration to say that this past week has been one of the most difficult weeks of my life. Every day of this week, I have heard about new details related to the horrific case of the pedophile network operating out of my neighborhood, Nachlaot. As it turns out, my street, my small little alleyway of a street that doesn't even appear on most maps. It's a place where, where many tourists come to take pictures of like picturesque historic Jerusalem. It turns out that the pedophiles were using several apartments on my street.
Mark, I have you here. I'm just putting the camera down since you don't have your camera on, but if you want to say something, I can hear you and then I'll bring you back on, okay?
As their places to rape and molest children. Every day I hear about like new families involved, new kids that I know who are involved, new friends of mine whose kids were involved.
There goes my camera. Hold on. That's why we're set up already. We're set up already. Don't worry. Right here. We got the other angle. 1 second. Should be able to do that. There we go. All right, here we go.
Who were molested and raped, and I can't even tell you just like what a nightmare this past week has been. It's been really hard for me. And I've been doing this full time. I've been doing the pedophile crisis. It just
I feel like this is gonna get me freaking destroyed on YouTube. Okay. Okay, this is on CBS.
A CBS News investigation has uncovered a loophole that allows accused and convicted American pedophiles to escape justice by moving to Israel. So Ian Lee has been following this for more than a year, and he traveled to Israel for this investigation. He worked with a group that tracks people accused of sex crimes, which estimates dozens of Americans have used this loophole.
So, he's
6'2".
We are on a stakeout looking for this man, Jimmy Julius Caro, 48 years old and wanted on charges of sexually assaulting a 9-year-old girl in Oregon back in 2000 and a 5-year-old girl in Israel in 2001. He's considered dangerous. But these photos are a few years old, so we don't know if he'll look the same. He remains elusive. Previous attempts to capture him have failed.
Obviously, the fear that he would somehow figure out that anyone's looking for him and bolt.
This is YouTube. This is a news channel from CBS News that I am just playing. I have no idea what they're going to say, but this is important to our investigation.
Called his number.
Shauna Aronson got a tip that Caro's expected at this clinic near Tel Aviv.
Who's going to call the
She's with JCW, Jewish Community Watch, an organization that hunts down accused pedophiles who flee to Israel from the U.S., exploiting a process called law of return, whereby any Jewish person can move to Israel and automatically gain citizenship.
The ease with which pedophiles seem able to use this law as an escape route haunts victims like Mendy Hawk, who says he was abused from age 8 by a teacher at an Orthodox Jewish school.
So do you see how all of this has led up to this point? Yeah, it got dark fast, right? But the truth is, if it's in their religious text, if it's in their law, then what's holding them back from continuing to do so unstopped? I'm looking at that camera as if what's going to keep them from stopping, right? When we have they have no regard. This is devastating. And I'm going to try to change it over here. And I like redacted. So I think we can, here, let's do this. Actually, let's go to Jimmy Dore.
So our friend Mel, the executive, the village crazy lady who does good work.
So remember this, right in the middle of the Charlie Kirk stuff, this happened. And this was like right when everyone was like up on was Israel involved with Charlie Kirk and and then this came out. And then they just sent him back. It was a cybersecurity intelligence like leader in Israel. And he was in Vegas and he got caught trying to catch on a predator sting in Vegas.
The executive director of Israel's National Cyber Directorate was arrested this week in Las Vegas in a child pedo ring sting. This guy works directly under Netanyahu, so of course he was allowed to go back to Israel. And so she links this stuff. So that's the guy. And here's the story. The Nevada Internet Crimes Against Children joint operations included detectives and agents from the ICAC, Task Force, blah, 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 blah. Those arrested were David Wanacott Yankee and Tom Artyom Alexandrovich, 38.
So I just wanted to show that. I think I'm going to wrap it up here because it's been 4 hours and I got to get some stuff done. But what we'll do is we could go deeper on this on Rumble next week. So we'll start it on YouTube. So we can do this on Sundays. I don't mind as long as I'm in town. I think it's important to cover this. Mark, I brought you on if you want to say anything. But also, I want people to remember we are not unextinguishable. And if we don't, the reason why I show the history and the text and I show you these videos is because you need to know that here, let me talk to this camera up here. You need to know, all right, what they say about who our greatest persons are, that are our greatest allies and all that, right? My light, okay. Our greatest ally, our country that we're sending billions of dollars to and fighting a war on behalf. This is their religious text. This is their law. So we need to know that. This is super important. And to not think so, or to think that because we're Americans, oh, it can't happen to us, that's foolish. And I don't want anyone to fall victim to that mentality, because once you stop trying to learn the truth, that's what they want you to, that's what they depend on, actually. They depend on you not knowing the truth. That's the hard fact. You have anything to say, Mark?
I just had to switch tabs to open up StreamYard. No, I just commented that our greatest ally wouldn't even treat our troops in the Iraq and Afghan wars. You know, that's how helpful they've been.
Yeah, they've had they wouldn't let our ships dock there. There was, I remember a situation even like in multiple times where American military was injured and Israel was right there. They had to be taken to like somewhere else. I don't know. So
yeah, they'd have to fly over and go to Germany.
That's crazy. So yeah, I hate that. I don't know. I'm not like, I don't hate people. I don't want anyone to think I'm like, but the thing is, if this is, we are paying for this, not to mention Gaza and the Board of Peace, all of the stuff going on there. We are paying for every single bit of it. The government, it's not coming out of Trump's pocket, and he's a billionaire. We pay for it. And they take our money and do whatever they want with it. So, anyways.
No,
I'm glad everyone joined.
I thank you for the show. This was a very important topic here.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. We'll do it again next Sunday. Keep it going on the religious stuff on Sundays and keep exposing the truth. But thanks for joining, Mark. I'm going to remove you from the stage and say some words. But yeah, we'll have you again soon and hopefully measurement. Thanks, Mark, for joining, brother. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. God bless you.
God bless you. So just know, I'm here for the truth. I'm here to look through receipts. I'm not here just to look at TPUSA's financial documents. That just got me cooking. So you can bet on the fact that I'm going to be here showing the truth. I don't know what they'll do to my channel. So that's why I would like to do this deeper stuff on Rumble next week starting. But yeah, man, there's a lot of stuff going on. And they don't want us to know the truth. Like always, it's nothing new. But you need to know. If you're watching this channel, then that's why you watch all this whole time. We got 4 hours of live stream. There's still 120 people here. It's 300 actually. Well, 265 on YouTube and X. So we do this stuff in the members only as well. So join us for Friday members only. Welcome, Be Well V. We have to protect our own. And our own right now, especially, is our country, our plot of land, the place that I own my home in, the place that we go out and hang out and meet people to go and have lunch. And, but they're trying to take that from us. The surveillance apparatus is in full swing. The religious doctrine has been in full swing. The religious wars are in full swing. The government is in full swing to try to take away everything that we know. And they're trying to take it away in a way that's deceitful and is lying. And I'm not okay with it. We can't vote our way out of this, but we can speak our way out of it, hopefully. Luckily, we still have firearms. So buy gold, stay strapped. Be good to people. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for joining. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care. Peace.